be invited by the art group or the art team at Callender Park in Falkirk is a big honour for me. And it's kind of, in a way, home from home. So when I think about it, it kind of brings tears to my eyes a bit, you know, because I'm a Falkirk bairn, born in Falkirk, and I've travelled, not just physically, but artistically, mentally, and so this is my journey, and this will possibly be my last exhibition. And so it's fantastic to be able to bring this work to Falkirk and to share it with the audience here. I love the title, Live It, Paint It. That is so dynamic, and I hope people visiting the exhibition will find it dynamic and interesting. Well, I think each human being has some kind of division within them. They certainly have conflict. We all have conflict about many things within us, being good and not so good, you know, when we're little being bad and, you know, not getting the sweeties or whatever. So we learn at an early age, you know, this conflict and this division and the choices we have. I would like to think that I've addressed some of these things in my painting, because I'm very interested, of course, in conflict. Not only the inner conflict, but the conflict that actually exists in the world. The wars that are ongoing at the moment. And being a child who grew up in the war, of course, I have vivid memories of my life as a child, and some of this has, of course, come into my work and my painting, because war is a constant. In the words of Susan Sontag, she says, you know, war is always with us. I certainly didn't want to paint nice pictures. I know everyone wants to look at them. And I know not everybody wants to look at some of the difficult subjects I paint, but painting them and putting them out into the public arena should help us consider, you know, the artists are the conscience of the nation. And that's important, that we actually tackle these things. And this is the wonderful thing about the arts. They can confront us, and also they seek a truth. And that's what I'm after, was the truth about the situation. I like to think as a painter that I'm tackling something which people can, if they just take a little time with my paintings, just try to find themselves in the work, you know, the things that they are faced with. During the week, I had the pleasure of watching a program on Daniel Libeskind, the architect who built the memorial to the murdered Jews of Europe in Berlin. And he said that drawing is the poetry of the hand and the eye of the mind. And I thought that was really rather wonderful. And drawing is very important for me. In the studio here is a stack of portfolios full of drawings, which have hardly seen the light of day, but they're all in there. And there's one actually on one of the easels over there. And to actually be able to take a chalk and to think, to use the eye of the mind and sort of put it down so in such a forceful way and so sure, you know, has taken a long time to get to that stage, you know, to have the confidence, and also to think of drawing not as a sort of messy, sketchy thing, but as an actual powerful statement, as well as, you know, a completed work of art, you know, because I always think that drawing is very much like poetry. You have to find the exact word, and so you have to find the exact line so that it interprets what your mind is conceiving at the time, you know, so it conveys. So this is a discipline, and this is only done by a lot of practice and also isolation as well, and clarity, you know. So the drawings actually, and we haven't included many of them, although they do feature in some of the artworks that they fed into some of the larger paintings. But the drawings themselves make a very powerful collection of what I was feeling when I visited the various museums in Berlin and considered the very dark history of Germany. And that's what was interesting about being and working in Berlin, was you had a country, a nation who had caused absolute havoc in the world, so that so many people, you know, a very, very special race of people, Jewish people, were to be absolutely eliminated, which is an appalling idea, you know, for any nation to impose that on another nation. And so I felt that I had a mission to try and interpret their situation or their suffering, you know. And so some of the drawings, yes, they're sad, but it's a reminder so that it doesn't happen again, you know. This piece is called Museum of Memory, and you've got a kind of Egyptian mask there, you know. There's a wonderful Egyptian mask in Berlin, and then you've got this two-way figure in a way, or the two-way head, this sort of resting, sleeping figure going into memory. And I've used heavy pastel here and there, and then when I draw with it, I then take my finger, rub the pigment into the paper, you know, which is textured, you know, just to give it a kind of density, you know, and a powerful line. You know, so, and it's quite abstract in a way, you know. So, well, yes, tackling the body, that is difficult. For most people, it's a bit of embarrassment, you know, they're a bit ashamed or, well, just embarrassed about the body. So we have to ask why. I don't think people are quite so inhibited nowadays. You know, everybody's out running, jogging, and they're fairly well stripped down. And there is a great deal of thinking that to keep the physicality really fit and well, you know, and that's only intelligent, of course. But confronting the body in Scotland, well, to begin with, it's so damn cold that we cover up a lot, you know, and that's a very important word, cover up, you know. We hide things away, we cover up, and we think more of our imperfections than our beauty, you know. So I suppose I just wanted to, well, I didn't want to paint clothes, you know, so, I mean, the body is something I know about. I have one, everybody has one, you know. It's the thing we live in, breathe in, you know, we attend to it every day. We feed it, water it, wash it, clothe it, walk with it, work with it, you know. So everybody knows about this place that we live. It's the only thing we ever own, you know. I know you've got cars and houses and machines and things, but when it comes down to it, this is what we came into the world with. We came in naked, yes, and we go out, you know, pretty naked as well, you know, having lived our life, you know. So it's a good reminder that, you know, to honor that which is here, and that's our own just physicality, and to experience it. Through our body, we experience absolutely everything, the joy, the sorrow, the pain, you know. The human being has all these dilemmas to confront, you know, and I think the artist has as well, you know. So drawing the body, we should become very familiar with it and not be afraid of it. Well, this was a sycamore tree that had to be cut down in the garden, and I don't know just the shape of the tree. And because I'm working with this sort of natural material, the wood, it's so nice because we've moved into such an area of electronics and pressing buttons and AI. So the physicality of the material and its humbleness in a way. I mean, a tree is an amazing thing. It really is. It didn't start, I must do this. I must be a woman painter and do my thing. It's not like that at all. It was a slow growth. It was something that was intuitive. I didn't know what would come. And this is what's exciting about painting. If I want to know how I am, I'll lift a brush, and then what's going on inside comes out. So you can see this is the use of the blue pigment, which I discovered in Berlin. And I found a very good medium so that the paint stays very dry looking. Rather than looking like paint that's on it, it looks as if it's just kind of an integral part of it. And of course, this little marks on here are just like the creases in a woman's body, the creases of time and flesh. So it's kind of tender, isn't it? At least I think it is, in the little face and the little hood. I was just painting what I felt I was passionate about and I knew about. And in the creative arts, you don't do what you don't know about. You just know it, And so it was something to address. I had lived in my body, I had experienced it, and it was time to put it out there for other women to know about it. And yes, I was criticized for this. It was said sometimes that perhaps I shouldn't paint things like that. And yet these particular male artists were going home to their wives or lovers and enjoying the body, their partner's body, And so, do you just do that and get on with your manny thing, your life, and just say thanks very much, I don't know. I don't understand the male very well, I just am trying to understand the women and their function in the world, how they are used, abused sometimes, how they're absolutely adored, how they're the whole spectrum of the balance between the male and female. Lys la vie en rose, which is life in the pink when everything's nice and rosy and happy. And so the group of figures, the family, are in a kind of rose spiral, which is the rose, which is a symbol of love and caring, although it has a few thorns, of course, as love always does have. And so it's just, I think, wishful thinking that everything would be harmonious together, and that's what every family really wants, But, well, it doesn't always happen, There's always conflict or little moods or whatever. But so it's a kind of dream painting, which is why the colors are very soft. It just starts with probably quite a simple idea, and I know I'm going to use the figure. It's not anything that's out there, it's not sitting on a table like a still life, but it's in me, and I just start, big canvas. I should point out that all these big works, I stretch all the canvases myself. They don't come ready-made. And this is an important ritual, actually, because when you're actually working, I kind of feel my mother's hands, who had a wonderful way of working with materials. And as you stretch the canvas, as you stroke it, as you paint it, in preparation, you're kind of spiritually engaging with the material. So you're already starting to go into the fabric of the canvas. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense, but it's kind of religious in a way, you know, because a large canvas is going to occupy me for many months, you know, and I'm going to go through the process, sort of mental and physical process. One of the things I sort of acquired in Berlin was on going to the various art shops or paint supplies, you would see these sacks of beautiful pigment. You know, I had never seen these before. I knew pigment existed, of course, but you know how you get sacks of potatoes in the greengrocer or what, just to see these paper containers or sacks of ultramarine blues, you know, and the chrome yellows and things. I mean, you just want to jump into it, you know, it's just so intense. And I think that really sort of made me collect quite a lot of the pigments in Berlin, and afterwards various other places that I visited. And over in the corner there, of course, you can see there are my jars of pigment. So often when I was working, although working from tubed oil paint, I would also put some pigment in as well to just kind of enhance it and give it a kind of another kind of weight.
I'm looking at this as well.
That's a rubber, yes. A little drawing on the rubber, yes. So, yeah, you can draw on anything, you know, really. My ideas don't want to be confined within a small rectangular framed piece, you know. I want art to come alive, almost be on a stage of existence, to explore what countries and what peoples go through. And of course it's always happening across the world. So that's the kind of artist I am. I appreciate other people's kind of art, of course. If one can paint a beautiful still life, that's marvelous. Or I was once asked, why didn't I paint landscape? But I do paint landscape in a way, because the mountains behind me, which are sort of like a great body that lies behind me and holds me, you know, where my little house sits at the foot of a big hill. And sometimes the hills look very, very cold and cruel, you know, just like the world is. And of course, these hills and hills in Scotland can take life, as you know, and the Ochils are no different. There have been a number of people lost on the hills. And I think we have to respect the mountains and see them as these large forces. So I find that quite a difficult concept to take a little piece of paper and try to put all that into a little painting, you know, about how they look, because they're much more than that, you know. So they've been there as a mountainous form in my work. And I think this is why I like to paint big, and I like the human body, because it echoes the land. And in the words of de Kooning, you know, woman is the landscape. And so I feel I am the landscape, but I'm a landscape of shades and colors and feelings and emotions, you know. And I give birth and I feel like spring coming on, you know, and then we'll move through summer and autumn. And yes, in winter I will withdraw and die a little, and maybe a lot. Yeah, I would like to say that if you're an artist or a creative person, you have to find somewhere, somehow to support your work. That is, just give you your bread and butter. But you have to find a balance, and this is quite difficult, between doing your creative work and also just paying the bills. And a lot of people just get caught up in thinking that they can have what's considered a normal life. Well, you can't have a normal life if you're an artist. You have to sacrifice a great deal. One, you have to be very self-contained and solitary in a way, and be able to not drink and hug Monet if you're going to be painting the next day. If you're a Scot anyway, you know, you have to just deny yourself certain things so that you can fully function with your career. So that's an important bit of advice, that balance, that discipline is very, very important. It's not a question of saying, I don't feel like it today. Feel like it, just get on with the job, because that's what it is. And you'll feel great. Believe in yourself, absolutely. Don't doubt at all. And remember that you're extremely special with a whole set of special responses and feelings and ideas, and these have to be allowed to grow. And if you limit yourself, they won't grow. So expand, grow, try, you know, and just be wonderfully alive to possibilities.